It is a very good afternoon to you, Ghana. Good afternoon to you, Kenya, Nigeria, Sudan. Good afternoon to you, Eritrea, Eswatini, Lesotho. Good afternoon to you, Rwanda. Good afternoon, Africa. Welcome to Africa in Business on Channel Africa. I'm Thami Ngubeni. This is where you get the African perspective. It's where we meet to look at the latest in news, business and sport. We are broadcasting live from our studios in Auckland Park, Johannesburg, South Africa. We are on DSTV Audio Bouquet channel 802, on OpenView on channel 628, and you can live stream us on www.channelafrica.co.za. We're also available on the SABC Plus app, which you can find on your Apple and Google Play stores. Thank you there to Jwalani Tulongwape for the news and Figile Lingwati on the sport. Do continue engaging with us on the various social media platforms. On X, we are at Channel Africa 1, the same with Instagram and YouTube. On Facebook, you'll find us at Channel Africa. It's gone exactly 7 minutes after 4 p.m.
We are on OpenView's audio bouquet. Channel 628.
Connecting Africa to the world. Africa in Business with Thami Ngubeni brings you the latest insights on Africa's economy.
We start here this afternoon with a look at South Africa's youth employment status. South Africa's Deputy Minister in the Presidency, Nongceba Mhlauli, delivered an update on the continued progress of the Presidential Youth Employment Intervention, marking 5 years since its launch. Mhlauli revealed that over 1 million earning opportunities have been created to date, with more than 76,000 accessed in the last quarter alone. Channel Africa's reporter Michael Mbewe has this report.
The Presidential Youth Employment Intervention was established in 2020 by South Africa's President Cyril Ramaphosa to create sustainable earning opportunities for young people across South Africa. It aims to increase youth economic participation by aggregating demand for youth employment, coordinating various partners and enabling pathways to jobs, workplace experience, entrepreneurship and skills development. Ultimately, the initiative seeks to reduce youth unemployment by connecting young people to quality jobs and entrepreneurial opportunities, driving systems change in the labor market, and supporting long-term economic inclusion of youth. In a media briefing highlighting achievements, South Africa's Deputy Minister in the Presidency, Nongceba Mhlauli, pronounced the figures.
Our latest quarter report confirms that over 4.7 million young people are now registered on our National Pathway Management Network, with more than 1.6 million earning opportunities secured to date. And by to date, we are meaning from the inception of the program in 2020 until now. This therefore reflects the strengths of the Presidential Youth Employment Initiative's approach in aggregating demand, coordinating with our partners across the public and private sectors, as well as enabling pathways that enhances young people's economic participation.
In quarter four, many young people accessed opportunities in greater numbers through different available platforms.
In quarter four alone, we are pleased to report that we've had 76,569 earning opportunities that have been accessed by young people in this particular quarter. And that basically includes 60,444 opportunities through our SA Youth platform, as well as 16,125 through the Employment Services of South Africa, which is housed in the Department of Employment and Labour.
She asserted that partnerships with other departments and government agencies have contributed significantly to the progress made since the inception of the initiative.
We also saw continued progress through our various partnerships, one being that the Youth Employment Service has been able to facilitate 15,137 workplace opportunities, workplace experience placements in the private sector. We've also, through our Department of Higher Education and Training, placed an additional 5,504 TVET graduates in workplace opportunities. And through our National Youth Development Agency and our Department of Small Business Development, we've been able to support 43,000 young entrepreneurs with financial and non-financial enterprise development opportunities.
With many questions lingering on how sustainable these jobs are, Deputy Minister Mhlauli affirmed that these are quality jobs aimed at promoting inclusivity.
These are not just temporary job placements. They are quality jobs defined by the duration, the income level, and the growth potential. We are already seeing shifts in employer practices as a result to better accommodate young people who have been excluded.
Meanwhile, the Director of Presidential Youth Employment Intervention in the Presidency, Tsegofatso Walker, highlighted the main goals of this initiative.
We have three primary goals. First, to aggregate and stimulate demand for youth employment. Second, to link young people to existing opportunities in the labor market. And third, to drive systems change and address the structural barriers to youth participation in the economy.
Michael Mbewe, Channel Africa News, Johannesburg.
Stay ahead with Africa in Business, where Thami Ngubeni unpacks your go-to source for Africa's economic trends and development.
It has gone exactly 12 minutes after 4 p.m. Central African time as we turn our focus now to Zimbabwe, where cement importer Octich Investments Limited has approached the court to seek an interdict against the Zimbabwean government over the recently introduced surtax, which they claim is unlawful and contradicts the Common Market for Eastern and Southern Africa, which is COMESA regulations. This was after 50 haulage trucks laden with white cement were held up at the Chirundu border post after the Zimbabwe Revenue Authority began enforcing a newly introduced 30% surtax on imports. For more on this, we are joined this afternoon by our correspondent in Zimbabwe, John Kasim. A very good afternoon to you, John. Good to have you with us. Perhaps let's start first with an understanding of why the Minister of Finance and Economic Development issued the Customs and Excise known as surtax tariff notice, and what specific taxes did it actually introduce?
Thank you so much for having me. The Finance and Economic Development Minister, Professor Thami Ngubeni, announced last year during the 2025 budget that there will be introduction of several tax brands, and that will actually affect quite a number of industries and the importation of goods. By the way, several imports had been suspended from paying duty, and taxes had actually been withheld because they were trying to boost the availability of goods in the country. But we also have another program which is called Buy Zimbabwe Product, which means that the Zimbabweans were sort of obliged to buy only local goods at low prices, and if goods are coming from outside the country, they'll be charged heavily. So they had suspended the charging of duty, but now there's a huge call by the industry, local industry, saying they are now going out of business. Hence, they decided to bring the issue of charging goods coming from outside the country, especially cement, food products, and so forth, 30%, so that ordinary Zimbabweans would then go for the local products. Hence, you find the statutory instrument 50A of 2025 came into effect on May 16.
And which, John, are the sectors that will mostly be affected by this new tax law?
This new tax law is actually affecting the construction industry, the food industry. If you look at the statutory instrument, it's talking about importation of what they are calling goods that are bought by people with money, or maybe luxurious goods. For instance, yogurts, cane sugar. You're also talking of fat, goods with fat exceeding 1%. So you also find that they are also talking of white cement, water absorption, cement of up to about 0.5% and exceeding 10%. So there's a lot that is there. but you find that the construction industry and the food industry are the ones that have been affected more because there are categories of that section which are actually talking about certain sections, food, cement, and so forth.
And are there any small or medium enterprises that have been exempt, perhaps who are getting relief from these provisions?
So far, we're not so sure of if the small companies have been exempt, but this is coming amid some cry again within the local businesses in Zimbabwe. We had the conventional supermarkets like OK, TM, supermarkets, ShopRite, and so forth. So those are the ShopRites in South Africa and Zambia. And you find that they are complaining that the small players are actually importing goods without duty. And so most of these goods are actually being imported or smuggled through the borders on or illicit entries. And this is actually causing a lot of challenges in the retail market. So there has been a call for these guys actually to be charged duty. So if we're talking of small players being exempted, this is against the drive that the government has now, that the small players also has to contribute towards tax and duty so that there is a fair play within the industry.
This is a newly introduced law, John, but help us understand why Orkutich Investment seemed to either not be aware of this law, and that's because they're fighting this already with their trucks at the border post.
We can't say they were not aware of the coming of the law, and we can also not say they were not aware of the blue copy of the 2025 budget last year in December, because these issues were mentioned, and the issue that they are actually claiming in their application in the High Court is that there was a prior purchase of the cement. So prior to the effective coming of the law on 16 May, the purchase of the cement had already been done. And they are saying, so this cement should be considered to be on transit until all this cement has been exported to the people who have bought this cement. And then maybe they can start effecting this new law on the new purchases. But we're talking of millions worth of cement here, to an extent that maybe it will take the whole year to transport that cement. I'm not so sure what the government is arguing with regards to that application, because according to what this company is saying, they should be exempt from paying these taxes until they have actually exhausted importation of that cement. That's the gist of what I've understood and what other also media outlets are also saying.
In the court papers, Orkutich Investments is arguing that the government has been in contravention of the COMESA regulations. How so?
Yeah, that's true, because in year 2000, the Zimbabwean government came up with a law that suspends paying of duty of certain goods that are produced within the COMESA law. And we understand that it was actually sort of giving priority of certain goods that are being manufactured within the COMESA so that they don't purchase. And this was being done to make sure that there is good relations between COMESA countries within the trade industry. So it was a good law when it came in year 2000, and we have seen some laws coming, contravening, the same law being repealed and so forth. Zimbabwe has been like that actually since 2000. But now I believe what this company is saying is true, and this is what is already pertaining on the ground, that it's actually contravening what they have already promised in COMESA. And this is now coming on the head of, on the backdrop of another SADC trade summit, which is taking place in Harare, which started today and is actually ending on Friday. And so these are some of the issues that should be discussed when it comes to upholding laws that are actually beneficial to the entire SADC and even the COMESA trade pact.
Do we have an indication, John, when this matter will be heard?
I'm not so sure at the moment. Usually when there are interdicts and emergence or urgent applications, they don't really give a date because usually these matters are dealt in the chambers. And you may be surprised tonight, the ruling is already out and they make it public online. By the way, the Zimbabwean judiciary is now 24/7 online. So anything can happen. We may see the judgment anytime from now, because that's how the judiciary in Zimbabwe is operating.
All right, thank you very much, John Kasim, for that update. We certainly will be keeping abreast of developments on that front, and also more interestingly, how this is going to affect other importers, because it really is an issue of, the merits of the case, with Auctic arguing that their goods were bought before the implementation of this particular law, and really it's about the importation and maybe not even about when the purchases were made. So it's really going to be a fine tooth comb that they have to go through this particular case with. Thank you very much, John.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Thank you. That's our correspondent in Zimbabwe there, John Kasim, who takes us to 22 minutes after 4 p.m.
Hey guys, question. Have you thought about what happens between 9 o'clock until midday, Saturday and Sunday? Well, it's me. Those that know me call me the fun police, and I'm that girl, that voice on your radio. My name is Pule Mulebati. I'm all about the finer things in life. Where to go, what to wear, who to see, and ultimately what to do. We aspire to bring you the best in travel, entertainment, with a dash or maybe a dose of laughter. And then of course we switch things up a bit when we look at technology. I love what's happening with AI, because you blink, something new pops up. So the challenge is constantly there. I'm learning every single time on the show. So catch me every single Saturday and Sunday at 9 a.m. until 12 midday Central African Time, Baba.
Africa in Business on Channel Africa.
The energy distributor Umeme Limited's claim against the government of Uganda has increased to approximately $292 million, intensifying the long-running dispute over the final buyout amount. Now, this is the company, you'll remember, seeking arbitration in London as provided for under the concession agreements. Meanwhile, the Uganda Securities Exchange has extended the suspension of Umeme's trading counter until the 12th of June 2025, citing the unresolved dispute and its impact on investor confidence. For more on this, we are joined on the line by our correspondent in Uganda, Mike Arereng. A very good afternoon to you, Mike. Can you briefly take us through the back and forth that's been going on regarding the buyout of Umeme by the Ugandan government? Good afternoon.
Thank you very much. Well, it's all about the amounts of money to be paid to Umeme by Uganda government. Though the 20-year electricity distribution concession ended on 31st of March 2025, Umeme company wants a compensation of $292 million US dollars. Uganda government had only paid $118 million US dollars. So both parties had agreed to negotiate the deal in 30 days, but it has hit a dead end. The Energy Minister, Ruth Nankabirwa, stated the government position, saying that the Auditor General, after auditing all assets of Umeme, came out with a figure of $118 million US dollars, and this figure adopted by the Energy Ministry. It rejected both Umeme initial valuation report and previously considered estimate of $190 million US dollars. The government so far has failed to fulfill its obligation under the 2005 agreement, which mandates compensation to Umeme for investment made during its tenure that were not fully recovered. Umeme is alleging that the $118 million US dollar valuation undervalues its capital expenditure over the past 2 decades and violates the terms agreed upon in the original version.
And how might this arbitration affect investor confidence? You just mentioned some really key figures here and differences in evaluations as well as the outcome of that audit finding. And I'm asking this about how this might impact investor confidence, especially with the Uganda Securities Exchange extending the suspension of Umeme's trading counter until the 12th of June.
Well, it's all about the government to come up and agree, actually, the terms and conditions which were agreed by Umeme. Because when 20 years ago, when they reached an agreement, there were some clauses which were actually added. And these clauses actually were about the compensation. And actually, Umeme company by that time did a lot actually to improve the services here in Uganda. Though there was some years where there was load shedding, but apparently even now, the new company, there is load shedding almost every day, especially in big towns and also the capital city, that is Kampala. Umeme says that it actually invested over 600 million US dollars in upgrading the electricity net covering almost the entire country, both in rural and urban areas. That is why it says that that compensation must be paid.
And what has the market response been to this dispute?
Come again?
What has the market response been to this dispute? Clearly, it will have financial implications. Further what we've discussed now around the suspension by the Uganda Securities Exchange, extending that suspension. Has this brought a bit of uncertainty in the market, perhaps with other partners and with other individuals who are doing business with government on that type of basis, especially during concession periods and infrastructure investments being centered to those developments?
Well, it has sent an alarm actually to the investors, and the investors now, when they come actually to have an agreement with the government, they will have to think twice. So actually, right at the moment, I can say that it has sent airwaves to most of the investors so that they can be aware of what is happening, because you can't actually come and with a working capital of maybe in millions of dollars, then after some time, when it comes to compensation, you're not paid. So actually, it has brought a bad face to the government, and the government has to do something about it.
And I guess a loss of confidence as well, by the various potential partners. But why has Umeme sought arbitration in London rather than in Uganda?
Because they had agreed on that, and the case will be costly, first of all, to the government of Uganda, which has to seek for the best lawyers to represent the country, also to pay for their air tickets, accommodation, and daily allowance. And actually, I can say about the new Uganda electricity distributing company, there have been public outcry as Uganda, more especially in the capital city, are experiencing load shedding. So, taking this case to London, because probably the land in London, the case will be heard actually at the London Court of International Arbitration, and actually it will be a fair case, because here they think that it's. I think Umeme company thinks that this question of corruption, because most of the judges cannot be trusted, so there is that question of corruption, which I think Umeme, they thought that maybe that case should be taken to London.
Mike Arering, thank you so much for that update coming to us from Uganda. Have a great afternoon further.
And you too.
Thank you. That's our correspondent in Uganda, Mike Arereng. What an important case this is, because one thing that is for certain is that this dispute between Umeme and the government in Uganda, it underscores the complexities involved in concluding long-term public-private partnerships, especially in essential services like electricity distribution. And the outcome of this particular ruling will in many ways be pivotal in determining the final compensation amount, yes, but also it may set a precedent for future infrastructure concessions in that particular region. So certainly a landmark case to watch. It takes us to exactly 4:30 p.m. Central African time as we head over now to the markets desk, where Thabiso Lehoko is standing by with your latest market indicators.
Business news on Channel Africa. The African Perspective.
Thanks, Thami, and a very good afternoon. $1 in South Africa is trading at 17 Rand 99. Botswana 13.28, Namibia 17 Namibian dollars 99, and in Zambia it is trading at 26.77 to the dollar. In Kenya, the dollar is trading at 128 shilling 544. Ethiopia 134 birr 522. Uganda 3,000 shillings 613. Tanzania 2,000 shillings 694. $1 in Nigeria is trading at 1,000 naira 586. In Egypt, the dollar is trading at 49 Egyptian pound 715. Tunisia 2 dinar 975, and in Algeria it is trading at 131 dinar 213. The Moroccan dirham is trading at 983 to the US dollar. In Angola, the dollar is trading at 912 kwanza, while the Congolese franc is at 2,850 to the US dollar. Commodities markets: gold $3,359, platinum $1,054 per ounce, Brent crude oil is at $65.35 a barrel. For Channel Africa Business in Johannesburg, I'm Thabiso Lehoko with your market indicators.
Business news on Channel Africa. The African Perspective.
And standing by for your latest from the business of sport, here is Figile Lingwati.
Sports on Channel Africa. The African Perspective.
Thank you and good afternoon, Thami. We begin with football news, finances and windfalls. PSG, Paris Saint-Germain's long-awaited Champions League title, has brought more than just silverware. It has delivered a financial windfall worth over $215 million. The French club, who lifted the trophy for the first time in their history, are set to pocket around $155 million from UEFA in prize money. That figure includes participation fees, results in the new league phase format, knockout stage progression, and a $27 million reward for reaching and winning the final. A further $4.3 million comes from qualifying for the UEFA Super Cup. Matchday revenue added another layer. PSG hosted 8 home games during their run, all sold out, bringing in over $64 million in ticket sales. The semi-final against Arsenal alone reportedly generated $13 million. Commercially, the impact is already being felt. Shirt sales surged by 180% following the semi-final, and merchandise sales are up nearly a third compared to last year. Sponsors are also understood to have performance bonuses written into deals triggered by the club's European success. And it may not stop there. PSG have qualified for the expanded FIFA Club World Cup in 2025, where the eventual winners are expected to earn up to $160 million. Now on to marathon. Zimbabwe's medical practitioner, Dr. Keletso Nyati, has competed in the Adidas Stockholm Marathon in Sweden at the weekend. Nyati, who is in fact an ardent ultramarathon and trail distance runner, competed for charitable causes, raising funds for the community in Zimbabwe who need to drill boreholes to access clean drinking water for themselves and their livestock. There was a big turnout for more than 20,000 runners rather, and significantly all the top graded runners were drawn from East African countries, Kenya and Ethiopia, who lived up to their expectation. This is what the doctor had to say about his charitable run.
I was in the Stockholm Marathon to run for charity, to raise funds for a water trust called Mafuku Water Trust to provide water for underprivileged communities in rural Rwanda. The Stockholm Marathon was beautiful. The weather played along nicely. It was nice and sunny. And I enjoyed the crowds. It was lovely to run along the streets. All the way it was lined with waving fans, everyone clapping, and everyone just shouting, "Heya, heya." I had to stop and ask, what does heya mean? And they're like, we are telling you to go, go, go. I really enjoyed it. And then the athletes were amazing. There was such a huge community spirit. It didn't feel like a competition. Everybody wanted to see you succeed. And if you stop, everyone comes and pats you on the back.
Asked if Dr. Nyati managed to sell his idea and purpose to relevant people and business people taking part in the marathon, this is what the charming doctor had to say.
I managed to speak to a lot of people, and every chance that I got, I would stop along the way and speak to the people and tell them, this is a Zimbabwean flag and we are running for water. Please take a flyer and read about it. It was amazing. I really enjoyed it, but this was not really my primary race, so I could not really push myself much because the big race is coming next week. I'm going to run the Comrades Marathon from Pietermaritzburg to Durban. And also this was for a good cause, and it has raised a lot of attention to all the people who are hearing about this. And I hope it will touch their hearts as well, and then they can donate to the Mafuku Water Trust. We're calling it Run for Water campaign.
And the world number one, Scotty Scheffler, earns $4 million for FedEx Cup points with win at the Memorial Tournament. Scheffler has returned to the space in which it's surprising only when he doesn't prevail and posted 10 under 278 at Merrifield Village Golf Club. While bettors are equally impressed by his achievement, those who have invested exactly $100 for him to win in each of his 12 starts this season finally are in the black. This was a lucrative approach throughout 2024 when he won 9 times worldwide to net $2.4 million to bettors and board at $100 for every start. But the Memorial was only his third win of 2025. He was plus 280 to win pre-tournament at FanDuel, which matched his odds of the CJ Cup Bryson Nelson, and he was plus 400 at the PGA Championship. So, with $1,200 invested, bettors with those tickets are up $60, and that's $960 for the wins, plus each of the 3 $100 bets returned. For any sports stories you'd like to share with us, please send an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za or call us on +2711 714 4459. This is Channel Africa Sport with me, Fikile Lingwati.
Sports on Channel Africa.
The African Perspective. Africa in Business. Africa in Business delivers key insights and real-time updates on Africa's growing markets with Thami Ngubeni. The African Perspective on Channel Africa.
Channel Africa.
It is exactly 4:39 Central African Time. Thank you to Thabiso Lehoko and Fikile Lingwati. We do continue with the leading stories in the business world from the African continent. And just a reminder, if you've got any stories, whether it's the business of sport or the business of business itself, that you would like to share with us, these are the type of stories that you believe would be of interest to our listeners, both on the African continent and in the diaspora. Do send us your emails to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za. That's newsroom@channelafrica.co.za. You'll also find us on all the various social media platforms on X, YouTube and Instagram. We are at Channel Africa 1. On Facebook, you'll find us at Channel Africa.
Stay ahead with Africa in Business, where Thami Ngubeni unpacks your go-to source for Africa's economic trends and development.
Now, South Africa's Department of Higher Education and Training is facing some backlash. This is after the minister was compelled to withdraw a series of controversial appointments to key training bodies. The uproar follows the selection of several politically connected individuals, including the son of ANC National Chairperson and Mineral Resources Minister Gwede Mantashe. Di Makatso Lishuru has more.
It was a tense session on Friday with members of parliament wanting answers that the minister refused to give. Minister of Higher Education and Training Dr. Thami Ngubeni maintained there was nothing wrong with the list of people she had appointed to chair boards of various SETAs. A Sector Education and Training Authority, or SETA in short, is a body responsible for managing and creating skills development programs and training in various sectors with huge budget allocations. There are 21 such SETAs and they account to the minister. 2 weeks ago, the minister withdrew the appointments following a public outcry that some of these individuals have political links to the African National Congress, including a former premier. Ngubeni told parliamentarians that her process to appoint these individuals was beyond reproach.
We saw what was trending on social media. After seeing those trends on social media, I took it upon me as a responsible citizen to say, let me listen, what is the outcry about? Then I could pick up that amongst the issues, in particular from Honorable Khawkhaw, is that the recommended candidates to serve as chairs, they are viewed or perceived to be more political bloated. However, I must also put it on record that the panel recommended highly qualified candidates, and I was happy to see and to share with the portfolio committee today their profiles. There is nothing illegal about it. There are no flaws. There is no breach of any legislative imperative. Everything was followed, and the process was beyond reproach.
Ngubeni was taken to task about the panel of advisors that she says did the selection process. She refused to disclose the names or any details of the panel, and members of the Portfolio Committee on Higher Education and Training didn't take kindly to her refusal to disclose this information. Sihle Lonzi is a member of the Economic Freedom Fighters in Parliament.
I'm not going to say the process had flaws, because where am I going to base that argument from? The process was run by a credible and reputable independent panel.
Now, I've got a problem when you say you cannot give us the names of these panelists. It's a shadow government. There are people who are taking very serious decisions on behalf of the ministry, on behalf of the department, and clearly you as a minister, you take these people very seriously because you listen to their recommendations. But you're saying, I can't give you the names of these people. Who are these people? Why must they not be told to the people of South Africa? We need to know, who are they? What if they are your friends? What if they are your family members? What if these people even themselves are of questionable character? Because this is a public institution. It's not a private company. You are saying to us, you have a secret panel. The people of South Africa must know, where are decisions of higher education taken? Because of time, I'm asking you a yes or no question.
I'm not going to respond to yes or no. I'm not in court.
No, this is not a court.
I'm not in court. I'm not going to respond to yes or no.
None of the minister's delegation, including a representative of the National Security Agency, knew anything about the secret panel that advises the minister. Democratic Alliance Member of Parliament Karabo Khawkhaw called the minister arrogant.
Minister, at the heart of public service is selflessness. It is an absolute blessing to be given a position of a minister that oversees not only SETAs that are responsible for empowering young people, but overseeing institutions that make or break the lives of young people. You would assume that people who come and take office do so with one interest only, the people, and forget about their political loyalties. You can be loyal to your political manifesto, but you can't be loyal to the stomachs of cadres.
The meeting degenerated with the minister sticking to her guns and parliamentarians frustrated.
And I'm happy to see, Honorable Ngubeni, that you can pick up that it was wrong for politicians to serve in those boards. Because with yourself, you served in 2 boards of sitters when you yourself was a leader of the African National Congress. I'm happy when you can see those things that are wrong today, the things that the collapsing system that you are speaking about today, you were part of it. I'm happy and I'm taking note, at least when you're talking from experience, because you're part of the mess that we're trying to resolve today.
The nomination process has now been reopened, inviting nominations. Minister Ngubeni says even the names that caused a public outcry would be considered again if they applied. For Channel Africa News, I'm Dimakazo Lishoro in Johannesburg.
From markets to innovation. From markets to innovation. Africa in Business with Thami Ngubeni covers it all. With Africa's future in focus, Channel Africa, the African perspective.
It is exactly 4:46 Central African time. Now, China has said that U.S. President Donald Trump's accusations that Beijing had violated the consensus reached in Geneva trade talks were groundless and promised to take forceful measures to safeguard its interests. More in this Reuters news report.
China rejected accusations from the US it had broken the consensus of recent trade talks. Beijing said Monday President Donald Trump's accusations were groundless. It also promised to take forceful measures to safeguard its interests and accused Washington of seriously violating their trade truce. The comments came in response to Trump's Friday statement that China had breached a deal to roll back tariffs. US Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick spoke on Fox News Sunday with Shannon Bream.
I think what happened is Secretary Bessent and Ambassador Greer went to Geneva. They made a deal with the Chinese. And really the right way to say it is they're just slow rolling the deal. So I think slow rolling is the right way to say it. And I think Donald Trump is on it.
But China said Monday it had implemented and actively upheld the agreement reached last month in Geneva. It further accused the US of introducing many discriminatory and restrictive measures against China. That included issuing guidance on AI chip export controls, halting sales of chip design software to China, and revoking visas for Chinese students. It did not elaborate on what forceful measures it might take in response. Beijing and Washington agreed in May to pause triple-digit tariffs for 90 days.
That report brought to you by Reuters News, taking us to exactly 4:48.
Africa in Song with Chandukoli Gege.
This song has a line that I love so much in the isiXhosa language. It says, Andinayo nesentem daga. So I went down to the Eastern Cape. So I went to Yanga and said, Yanga, tell me here, what does Andinayo nesentem daga mean?
If I say Andinayo nesentem daga, it means that I do not have any money on me. I do not have money to give to you.
Interesting, because in Chivenda I would just say Atinana Peni no charungwe. I wonder if you have that expression in your home language when you want to say you're broke, but in a very creative way. What do you say? I'd like to hear from you.
Africa in Song with Chandukoli Gege.
Stay ahead with Africa in Business, where Thami Ngubeni unpacks your go-to source for Africa's economic trends and development.
It is exactly 4:49 Central African time as we go into our business preview this afternoon. We are joined by SABC Economics Editor Tshepo Mongai, who will be taking us through at what we can expect in this coming week in the business sector. Very good afternoon to you, Tshepo. Good to have you with us once again.
Good afternoon, Thami, and to your listeners.
You know, during our throw forward this afternoon, I was speaking to the team and I was telling them what you and I were going to be talking about. And I mentioned this massive 300% earnings boost for Telkom. And I kind of described it as a unicorn of a transaction, because ordinarily Telkom and earnings boosts are not in the same WhatsApp group. They're not synonymous. Could you give us a little bit more context as to how they've managed to earn this 300%?
Yeah, it's quite a massive boost to their earnings. The reason is Transnet has been, Telkom has been, they've been selling some of their assets for quite some time. So that disposal, particularly the tower business, has actually helped their earnings quite a lot. You would know that they actually hold a number of very lucrative assets, properties, land, and so forth. In fact, they had in the past been disposing some of it, but this has been quite massive because it brought in just over $1 million in terms of revenue. So when you look at that, when they include that particular assets into their books, of course, you see this massive earnings in their earnings. But of course, they've also in the past, the previous CEO had disposed some of the properties that they own. And we had seen that during that time, the same thing happened. But I think the real test is, what do they do with this money? We know that they have been tapping into fiber, and that is one revenue stream that has actually been promising to bring in quite a lot of money in if they continue to grow. But it will have to be organic so that they can realize that growth perhaps in the next 3 to 4 years. That's one area of opportunities, an area of growth. So we'll see in the next financial year what are the plans with this huge windfall, how they're going to apply it, and I suppose that will determine in terms of investor confidence and whether people would actually put the money in that stock.
And taking a look at Ethiopian Airlines, they're considering an expansion of sorts too.
Yeah, they have been going out and buying a new aircraft. You'd recall that one of the challenges facing airlines all over the world, remember, we only have two main manufacturer of airlines in the world. So as a result, the maintenance of engines has been a major challenge for many of the airlines because of the lag and the delays. So as a result, you have a number of aircraft that are idling because they cannot be used and they are grounded by regulators because of certain routine maintenance that should be done by the manufacturer. Some of the backlog can go beyond the 6 months. So what is happening now, a number of these airlines are actually trying to acquire new airlines or aircraft that actually are more fuel efficient, they are much lighter, or some of them are leasing those aircraft. And that's what we are seeing with Ethiopian Airline. They are going out, and I think in total they are looking at around 20 aircraft. But the challenge is, of course, there's also a lag in terms of the order pipeline. For example, with Boeing, so they will have to wait a bit. But of course, the leasing tend to be much quicker, so it will be a combination of sales as well as leasing.
And what's on your diary for the rest of this week, Tsepo?
I think the most important one for us is the economic growth that we expect tomorrow in South Africa. Stats say will release the first quarter growth numbers. If you look at the two sectors that actually are a bit of a concern and could actually result in the economic growth coming sluggish, it's of course your manufacturing and mining. Those would be the biggest drag on growth. Economists, most of them actually expect a flat number, or around 0.1%. There are fewer who are saying we could see a negative number, but not many. Many have maintained some kind of growth, but quite subdued. So we will see what the picture looks like when those numbers eventually are confirmed by Stats SA.
Tshepo Mongai, thank you so much for the business preview for the week that is to come. You have yourself a splendid one ahead.
You do the same. Thank you very much, and to your listeners.
Thank you. That's Tshepo Mongai, SABC Economics Editor, focusing on some of the key business stories and things to be looking out for during the course of this week as far as business is concerned. It is exactly 5 minutes to 5 p.m. Central African time. And before we wrap up for Africa in Business today, bonjour, Joël. Vue d'Afrique coming up. What's on your menu for today?
Effectivement, sur Vue d'Afrique, bonjour à tous les auditeurs. Sur Vue d'Afrique, il sera question du Cameroun. L'opposant Maurice Kamto promet sa protection au président sortant Paul Biya en cas de victoire à la présidentielle d'octobre. Et nous parlerons aussi du général Abdourahmane Tiani, nous sommes au Niger, qui annonce le maintien de la fermeture de la frontière entre le Niger et le Bénin, mais aussi, et ce pour les grands titres, de l'opposition ivoirienne qui réitère son appel au dialogue. C'est tout à l'heure sur Vue d'Afrique. Merci à tous de rester connectés. Merci Thami.
Thank you so much. That's Joël coming up with the French programming from 5 p.m. today. And Joël also, not this Joël, the other Joël, will be bringing us the news in French at the top of the hour. Well, that's how we come to the end of Africa in Business for this Monday afternoon. From myself, Thami Ngubeni, our producer, Mabubuloka, as well as our entire team, both technical and social media, you have yourself a splendid afternoon further.
Get the news, music, and lifestyle of Africa on Channel Africa, the African perspective. The Morning Switch Weekend with the Shy Guy.
The Shy Guy, a Morning Switch.
Have you ever listened to a song and then it gives you goosebumps? Cause it takes you way back in the 80s. My goodness. Hey baby. You hear Yvonne Chaga Chaga there. I wanna talk to the DJ. And then the DJ goes like, hey baby, I've got you on the other side. Huh? There were no WhatsApps then, right? There were no sliding in the TMs at the time. Oh man.
Your weekend mornings are activated with the Shy Guy on the Morning Switch.
Vue d'Afrique avec Joël Mouteba.
Alors peut-on considérer cette décision comme un désengagement durable des États-Unis vis-à-vis du développement africain ou s'agit-il d'un simple